Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this rainy, man, it has been raining all night, like just rumbles of thunder. As they said in the movie Kingpin, the Amish up there, Ishmael Borg's dad heard that big thunder. He goes, the angels must be bowling. Well, the angels must have been bowling a lot, all like late last night into the early hours of the morning, because I'm up early, but I'm over here at the farm this morning in the great state of Arkansas, Cross County, 30 minutes from the cobblestones of downtown Memphis. We have great folks on the show with us today. That's our job always, is to bring the best guests, provide the best content. We're a sports radio show and podcast. That's what we do. That's who we are. We do it 6 days a week, at least 25 days a month. That's 50 hours at least a month of content, over 600 hours a year. If you're looking to get your message out to a target-rich audience, 72% men, 28% women. Last time I checked, there's no other category. So all of our listeners and our viewers, we thank you. We're blessed to have you. Appreciate you joining us and stepping in here with us. Follow us, www.sidelines.live. Remember, if you can't hear the show live, 8 to 10 a.m. Central, Monday through Saturday mornings, listen to it at your leisure, as Nigel, our British man, calls it, at your leisure. You can go there anytime. Find it up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat. It's everywhere. Google. I got a lot of people like Dr. Waller May in the historic district in downtown Tuscaloosa. They watch it in the lobby at the May Veterinary Clinic. So and more people are doing that, but that's what we do, and that's what we're here for. So follow us on Twitter at sidelines_live. Okay? And when we get going, we're going to have Dudley Dawson, hogville.net, Gary Harris, Tuscaloosa, WVUA TV 23, Tide 100.9, longtime sportscaster there, local sportscaster, really knows Alabama, but he knows college football, college sports really well. Hour number 2, HR-2. Ben Troupe, the big guy from ESPN Coastal over in Savannah, checks in with us. His take on college football, and ULM AD John Hartwell will come in, talk about all the craziness in expansion, what's going on down there in Monroe, how he's trying to build their athletic program into something special. He will. That's what he does. He has got a reputation as a fixer. He's the wolf, okay? The wolf of Monroe, John Hartwell. So we'll be with you the next 2 hours. Let me go ahead and bring in Dudley Dawson. And Dudley, man, first off, let me say, proud to have you on here. And I know you've been through a lot with the loss of your closest friend. And thank you for joining us. And you know, there's nothing like relationships that we have. And that picture of you and Charles and your coach from Newport says everything about what you believe in, what I believe in, and what I think makes sports and the things that come with them so special.
Yeah, most people know Charles as the young man who hit the shot against North Carolina to take down Michael Jordan and win that game in Pine Bluff. But I've always known him for over 50 years as one of the most quality people that I've ever met. He never met anybody he didn't like. He would always, if you were a small child and wanted to talk to him, he'd bend down and get down on their level, and just a great guy. And you know, it's been really tough. It happened a week ago Wednesday. You know, as you might have seen, you know, I've tweeted a little bit about it, and it's gonna take a while. Life goes on, you know. Life isn't fair, but just a great man, and we will have his funeral on Saturday up here, and we'll honor a great man, not just a guy who hit a great shot.
And that's what you know. I mean, you know, best friends since 4th grade, and those are 50 years. You know, he'll live on forever through that legacy and through you and what all he did. And I saw where he lived up in Fayetteville from Newport, and like so many people do. And you know, and again, you go back like you said, February 12th, 1984, that Sunday afternoon. I mean, you and I, we both remember it. Like, I mean, it's amazing how time goes by and something that big, and then the people that are part of it become part of your life forever.
Yeah, and it's I always took a little credit for the shot because, as you said, from the fourth grade on, we knew each other and played basketball together, and so I fed him a million passes so he'd know what to do with when he got that shot. So I've always taken a little credit for it. But he's part of he's part of my being. He's part of my fabric. He's part of the reason that I've got to be, as mildly successful as I had down the line.
Well, and this as a writer, as a sports writer, the stories off the court, off the field, these are people just like us, and they have problems, they have successes and everything like that, but their stories are so interesting and to follow them. And I'm sitting here thinking about, different schools, different players, and people that are part of our lives growing up. And it's just, it is really special. And I tell you what, I hope you don't, I mean, you're not close to retirement, but you got a gift of getting a story out and making it personal. And that's not every writer can do that, Dudley. That's a big time gift. You were on vacation, I know, last week.
On vacation.
Yeah. And you were, you come back and a lot of stuff has happened. The Pac-12 last Thursday night still had, a few teams in it. It had 10, but everybody knew something big was about to happen. And Doug Dean down in Birmingham just sent me this. The SEC, it just means more. The Pac-12, it just means 4. Are you shocked at this?
Yeah,
Doug is a comedy writer.
Yeah, and I have to admit that when Colorado, made its announcement, or really the night before Colorado made its announcement, and they were having a board meeting and talking about going to the Big 12, I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder what's going to happen. Now after that, I had no idea it would be like it was. I mean, it was. There's a great meme on social media where there's two guys picking teams, and everybody picked teams, and they had the logos over their faces, and those 4 were left. And those are good schools, but they just kind of got left out in the wayside. We'll see how things continue to progress. I do think that Greg Sankey's making at least the right statements, the right decision in saying 16 is good for the SEC. Getting Oklahoma and Texas in this league, an already great league, is going to be make it even better. But wow, this stuff went nuts last week, and everybody was just grabbing a hold of anything they could, whether it's geographical correct or not. It just was a matter of let's grab something because we're like Jack Dawson on the Titanic right now.
Yeah, you're right. Well, and I don't think, just me, my view, I don't think Arkansas has ever felt as comfortable as they do now, because you've got another school further out. Because when you're the furthest school out on the Western Front, it sometimes is tough because you're going, we need that rivalry. And Missouri isn't this, let's be completely honest, they're not like Arkansas. They're just not. And I'll be up there in Missouri next week up in the Ozarks fishing, and Arkansas too. But they're just not. But Oklahoma and Arkansas, they've only played 15 times in 130 plus years. But man, that is going to be an awesome rivalry. And Texas, we know about that. Texas A&M, you're renewing a lot of ferocious rivalries. I mean, most people, if they're not from this, well, you don't have to be from Arkansas, but you know it, and I know it growing up in Memphis. That rivalry with Texas, I'll put that up against anybody. They don't hate each other. They wish each other would be evaporated from the face of the earth. But that's what makes college football fun. I mean, I'm kidding about that, but that also makes it easier to get the guys to practice at 5 a.m, doesn't it? In February and March when nobody's looking.
Yeah, and if the young kids didn't know the rivalry with Texas, us older folks made sure that they understood that it was somewhat like going to school in the one guy, acting like he was better than everybody else. When he did, he had some good stuff. He beat them more times than Texas beat Arkansas more times than Arkansas. But now these last couple of times, I think the combined score is 80 to 40, somewhere around in there. And certainly, Arkansas has taken great pride in knocking them off the last couple of times, and having them inside the conference is going to be, I think good for everybody involved. I mean, for whatever you want to say about Oklahoma and Texas, they have, for the most part, in their overall sports programs, have been very good, and it just adds to an already strong league.
Yeah. I'm holding up in my hands here, this book.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And folks, we got this one. MJ got it for me for a birthday present at Hayes Grocery Store over in Wynne, Arkansas, the city with a smile. But man, it is packed. If you like the Hogs and you want to know anything about the Razorbacks, high school football in the state of Arkansas, we know about Dave Campbell's Bible in Texas. This is it in Arkansas. And Dudley, you write in there, the folks at hogville.net, write in there. There's a ton of great information in there. So, before you go off wandering in the wilderness about the Razorbacks or your favorite team, your high school in Arkansas, read that book, reference it, take it to every game you go to. Certainly buy a program, Hogs Illustrated or whatever they call the game day program in Fayetteville. Although the first game will be in Little Rock at War Memorial Stadium by the Zoo against Western Carolina. That's just an awesome book. And I've come up with my favorite nicknames. Have you covered yet the Ozark Hillbillies? I love that one. And then which ones are the Mules? I know Poplar Bluff.
Yeah.
Which one?
Southern Arkansas's Mule Riders.
That's right. Yeah.
College, yeah.
Yeah. And the Mule Skinners were the guys in World War II in Papua New Guinea that were preparing to take back the Philippines and liberate the 70,000 plus American and British that were left when Douglas MacArthur was exiled to Australia. But I love it. But also at Poplar Bluff, Missouri is the Mules, because we had to buy some shirts one time because all of our clothes got wet on a canoe trip. And I still to this day have my Poplar Bluff Mules. It's got a big mule on the front of it. But over 200 high schools in the state of Arkansas, Dudley. Let's talk real quick before we talk Razorbacks, some of the top players and teams that you've covered so far and you plan to cover.
Well, they had a good summer in that regard, in that I went to several 7-on-7, competitions, some team camps, got a chance to talk to, I guess, around probably 50 high school coaches. Everybody in the summer is always very excited, as they should be. They always have a lot of questions. It's interesting. You get one branch of coaches who really love the 7-on-7. Those are usually the passing guys. And another who like the team camps best, which is what they call real football, when you actually strap it on and get after it. But, during the summer, and obviously they've started to practice now, everybody's got that great outlook. Whether they went 1-9 last year, they always tell me they're trending upward. If they went 12-2, they tell me that, we've got to feed the monster and got to answer the questions. And now the culture's in place and all that. So everybody has a great viewpoint of things. This is going to be their year. And so as I've said many times on the show, I love the aspect of high school athletics, probably more than I do college, although I enjoy college and pro athletics. But I just love the molding that goes on from the head coaches. I look back to Bill Keaty, my great coach in Newport, in football, Bill Ozier, my great coach in basketball there in Newport, and how not only did they teach me how to play football and play basketball and succeed, but handle adversity. And I think that's a microcosm of what sports is in our society. And, I'm not saying you have to play sports. I'm just saying, it gives you the opportunity to grow as an individual as well.
Yeah.
While also, participating and enjoying winning.
Oh yeah. No question about it. Because, you learn so much from being on a team that sometimes you may not be feeling it, but you better find it because there's other people out there that are counting on you. And you'll learn that when you get on a team in business, or, you're an attorney in the courtroom. If you're there, you're one-on-one. I mean, it's just, you got a team of people. But when you're addressing the judge, the jury, that courtroom, you got to know what you're doing. And that you learn to fight those battles. That's the one thing I love about sports. High school is every year, usually they're senior heavy. They got to start over. So now let's switch it up to college. And
you have those lifelong relationships with the people you compete with as well. Tonight I'm getting inducted into the Newport Hall of Honor. I'm very humbled about it. Very honored. But one of the most important things, I'm going to get to see some of my old teammates today.
Yep.
And here tonight, and you don't, at Charles's funeral on Saturday too. Those are friendships that you have for a lifetime. You may have competed and may have tried to, get the spot from the other guy, but those are friendships that last a lifetime. And I'm very honored to be going into this tonight. I'm going to miss Charles. He was supposed to give my introduction speech, but I am excited about seeing the people. And I don't care whether you're, Jason Aldean or Tyler Childers or Jason Isbell, whoever. The being from a small town, there are so many great benefits to it.
Yeah.
Staying out of it politically, but the community sport that Newport got and all these other small towns do, especially on a Friday night, it's something that just overwhelms your soul.
No, you're right. I mean, we live in Memphis, which is 1.2 million people in the ADI, area of dominant influence, fancy media term that just talks about, that general area, but it's the largest small town in America because most everybody, I couldn't, there's not enough time to list all the people I know that are 1 or 2, 3 generations removed from living in a small town in the Arkansas Delta, East Arkansas, North Mississippi, and West Tennessee. And that is what makes Memphis bearable, in spite of the crime and other stuff, is the people. Just got great people. I mean, that's your key. You go to these towns like Newport, they are Razorback centric. I mean, there's no question. I drive over to Hardy, I go by Razorback concrete. I mean, it is just unbelievable the way this state is. Looking at the Razorbacks, this team, I was watching Takeo Spikes on SEC Network. Who are the 5 guys you don't want to have to tackle? And 2 of the 5 that Takeo put on there, and he knows a little about tackling, and you don't want to be tackled by him either. Still to this day, I'm telling you, he's still in. He can line up and play. But of his top 5 was KJ Jefferson out of Sardis, Mississippi, North Panola County, and then Raheem Rocket Sanders from Texas. Which town in Texas is he from? I'm drawing a blank here, but those were 2 of his top 5. He said at 242 pounds, he said Rocket Sanders is clocked at a 4.4240. That's scary.
No, Rocket's actually from Florida, unless my brain's failing me right
No,
now.
you're right. You're right.
That's Florida, I believe. And but yeah, he's a young man who got here at about 215. He's about 240 something now. There's not an ounce of fat on him. He's as fast as he's been. Went to see him in practice on Tuesday, and him and KJ. In neither one of them, there's not bad weight on them. I know bad weight. I can look in the mirror and see bad weight, and I know good weight. And those 2 guys, I think that's, Takeo was right. Those 2 guys can deliver the punishment as much as get tackled. I know that everybody, including their coaches, wants them to stay upright as much as they can this year. And, there's a fine line between getting that extra 2 yards and getting out of bounds. And I think we all know that they're going to try to tell both those guys to walk that fine line, because those are 2 very important guys. I think there are many people in the SEC, media writers and coaches and all that, think that's as good a duo at those 2 spots in the league as anyone.
Well, if anything, you could say Jackson Dart and Quinshon Judkins, but I think KJ is a better quarterback. I think he's a better dual threat quarterback. Although, the gunslinger mentality that Lane Kiffin likes, Dart has that. But I think when you look how few interceptions KJ Jefferson throws. And now he's got Dan Enos coaching him every day. What are you hearing from the practices? I know it's somewhat limited, but at Arkansas, I think you have better access than most.
Yeah, and like I said, I've got to go watch a little bit, and the first thing that you hear is how much better in shape they are. There were so many things that went wrong with this football team last year that were taken care of, I guess, in a manner by Coach Sam Pittman, head coach Sam Pittman, and the fact that let go of the strength and conditioning coach, brought in Ben Souders, and that really has, so you can see the difference. We'll see how it plays itself out, toward the end of the year, because that's really, where Arkansas started to falter last year. He didn't think they were in the shape that they needed to be, so he corrected that by bringing in Ben Souders. He has gotten offensive linemen who look like offensive linemen instead of speedy little guys that can get out on the corner and all that. Coach Pittman's a north-south guy. He's got great athletic and skilled-looking guys. They loaded up in the secondary. They loaded up, at wide receiver. And what's interesting to me more than anything is I say every year, I'm just like anybody else. I say every year I go over there, this looks more like a football team. Well, it looks more like a football team. That tells you two things. Number one, that they're getting better in terms of getting off the bus, but also that they were in a place when Chad Morris was here that they looked more like a lacrosse team to me. If you want to look at not getting on lacrosse, just saying that it's not as physical, as football. And they have gotten to that mentality, they have gotten to that physicality, and gotten to that look. Now, does that mean they're going to go out and have great success in the SEC? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'll tell you that they at least look like they might have a better chance to, because they look like the other teams instead of looking like guys that always have to overachieve and you have to win off development and those different things.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a great point. And you are correct. I got it confused with somebody. He's from Rockledge, Florida, and they put some really good players out from that high school program.
He was a wide receiver. That was the big thing. He came here as a wide receiver. He had played running back in high school, and they were going to take a look at him there, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and at that size, Taquillo played 230 something when he was in college, and most of a 15-year NFL career. 22-inch neck helps, but he had that 4.45 speed. I mean, you just don't see linebackers like that. Now I'm looking. So when you got a 1-2 punch like that, and you've got an offensive line, you mentioned they got rid of the strength coach, and you could see them fade. How much of that is mental? How much of that is physical? And is it also both of them? And which one goes out first as you start struggling late in the season? Because a new strength coach, you won't spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah, I would throw emotional in there as well, because once you didn't have the success and the strength positions you're supposed to, or you got, in the fourth quarter didn't play like you needed to, it rose downhill. If you're feeling good about yourself, you play better. If you're not, you don't. I mean, that's just the way things are. Trying to think. I was thinking of a team last year. I remember it was pretty good, and then their coach got fired, and they lost 42-0 in a playoff game when they were not that bad a team. It just was a way that it worked itself out. But I would tell you that I think it all goes into each other. But if you want me to specifically say one, I think mentally is the deal. There's a lot of good physical teams out there. You can stay on a plane emotionally, but if you mentally are not into it, and that when it's 4th and 2, if you're just hoping you're going to get it instead of knowing you're going to get it, or the other way, that you can stop that 4th and 2. Mentally, if you're not there, physically, you're not going to get it done, and emotionally, you're going to continue to spiral.
Yeah. Razorback practices at this point, offensive line looks better. You're saying that's huge. You got that 1-2 punch, KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders, and those tall receivers that can run the ball. Let's look over on defense. Got some changes over there. I mean, you and I both know Dan Enos, everywhere he goes, good things happen. Defensively, Razorbacks' biggest area of improvement is what? The front seven, the interior of the defensive line. Is that correct?
It's a tough call, and I would say that I think they got better players there than they had last year. But in the secondary, they went from having a lot of guys who were okay, and then hurt, and the depth just didn't, make itself known. They just, there was a big drop off from the first four to the rest of the depth. Now that's one thing that they really went after and targeted in recruiting. Both in high school and more often, medium impact in the transfer portal. There's a lot of guys back there that played a lot of football at a lot of Division I schools that suddenly are an influx into the Arkansas secondary. They're going to be much better this year, and that's even with a couple of guys, including Quincy McAdoo not being able to play. They have the depth there this year. And with the enthusiasm and acumen that the two guys really well that have been brought in here, to really run the defense, there is an excitement level and an enthusiastic, portion from that unit over there that is going to be a help to getting to where you need to be physically.
Yeah, I think you're going to see too. Because Marcus Woodson and Travis Williams were with Kevin Steele on that staff. Kevin Steele is an alpha male on steroids. I mean, his great quote, everybody talks about adversity. How are we going to handle adversity? He goes, you are the adversity. You bring it. You make them uncomfortable. You keep them up at night. Arkansas, look what's going on. I study trends, market trends, financials, analytics. I study a lot of things. Looking at the market, you look at them in recruiting, Dudley, and I know Otis Kirk is the king of recruiting at hogville.net, but you're around him. You've forgotten more than most people know about it, but they're going to end up being consistently top 15 in recruiting with the staff they have. That's just my thought. I mean, I know a lot about a lot of these guys. Some of them I know, but damn it, those relationships that they have. And when you get them, everybody talks about how great Nashville is, okay? You know what I heard from Nashville at everybody in media days? We don't want to become Atlanta. We don't want to become so big. Well, Fayetteville's about 600,000, but it's still Arkansas. There's a difference. You get a kid up there, it's very attractive, especially if they like outdoor hunting and fishing and canoeing and kayaking and all that stuff.
Yeah, we have about 10 times the amount of people from when I first came up here for college in 1981, from Fort Smith to Bella Vista, I would say, to the Missouri border. And, I'm happy about it because people want to move here because it's a great part of the state. And I'm very proud to be from Balch, Arkansas, Newport, Arkansas, and Arkansas in general. And now Springdale and Fayetteville in this Northwest Arkansas area. But it's such a good place that so many people want to move in here now. I'm telling you, we're running out of space a little bit. Any place that, especially with the way that the University of Arkansas continues to add students, there are apartments and condos and stuff going up in every little space. So that's a little tough. But at the same time, when you got a good thing, and I will transition and say that back to your point, when you've got a good thing. Now, Arkansas has consistently been a top 25 to top 30 recruiting situation in terms of the rankings each year since the modern day, era in the 2000s. They've had some great years where they've gotten up, but never have they been in a consistent top 15 team and certainly not a consistent top 10 team. That's where you have to get, especially now you're going to be in a 16-team league and you're adding two of your neighbors as part of the deal. You're going to have to get there to get to the point where you can get a college football berth, whether there's 12 or however many, after this realignment thing goes and all that. And I think that, the factors that you mentioned, the two new guys, and I think the recruiting footprint that they have now, gives them the opportunity to do that. And I'd love to sit here and say, yes, it is going to happen. These guys are going to get it done. But boy, it's tough to step up each level of the SEC. But I do think the people are in place for the potential for that to happen. Yeah,
I do too. And that's what I'm saying. You've got to be in that top 15. I mean, they've been top 20, top 25 a lot. I mean, even with Chad Morris, they were.
Yeah, the one thing about this year's class, and it's both defensively and offensively, there are far more 4-stars than there usually are. Yeah. There's hardly ever a 5-star. There is just a small handful of 4-stars, and then there's a really lot of high 3-stars. That have been the consistency of Arkansas's recruiting class. There's far more 4-stars in this upcoming 2024 class than there has been in recent memory. And that's, we can all say recruiting rankings are subjective, but there's a reason most of these recruiting services rank you a 4-star. It's because you're pretty doggone good, and they think you're more of a can't miss than a 3-star. Which I'm sure my wife would tell you I'm a 3-star, but
you're a 5.
I'm a high 3-star, I would hope.
High 3. All right, let's do this. Dudley, tell people how they can follow you. Stay with us if you can. Gary Harris from Tuscaloosa is going to be on. Then I want to take a break and come back and get into this. But, yeah, there's only 33 5-stars in the whole country out of 3,300 kids that will sign Division I scholarships. Ain't that many of them. And I would say most of them are going to 8 schools. You better develop those. But if you get a lot of high 4s and you develop them right, they're a lot better than a 5 that's going backwards. But tell them how they can follow you, and we'll take a quick break.
Well, hogbill.net is our message board. Lots of activity going there on there right now, including the women's basketball team playing over in Croatia and Athens, Greece. Sorry that I didn't get to go on that trip. Also Fearless Fridays, our high school site, to be doing a lot of stuff back on that site again next Monday. And then Twitter handles Dead Sports. And I can stay on for just a little bit longer, and then I'm going to make my trek to my hometown a little bit later this morning. So.
All right, we'll be right back with more Dudley, Dawson, Hogville.net, and Gary Harris and Tuscaloosa right after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Dudley Dawson with this Hogville.net. Let me say something real quick. First ever St. Paul Open coming up October 2nd, Chickasaw Country Club in Memphis with a dinner the night before. St. Paul Open is to benefit the Bishop Peter J. Sarton Scholarship Fund. Call Michael Jordan at 901-647-3014. They have a few more teams spots available. I'll get an update on that. So call now. Call before midnight. Flags and sponsors and whole sponsorships are still available. They still need money. Some participants, volunteers, items donated in lieu of cash. Again, if you're Catholic, not Catholic, you want to support a great cause. Bishop Peter J. Sarton, another great Memphian who went on to be the bishop over in Arkansas and Little Rock, and just absolutely, truly great man, right up there with Brother Adrian and Brother Stephen O'Malley, who taught me. Incredible, great, just a great man. But that is the St. Paul Open. Also, new brands coming into Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. They're coming in right now. Pendleton, Schaefer Outdoors, Danner, Vask, Light Boots, and Hire Boots. Hire invented the cowboy boot. And those new Vask boots that they've got, my wife Audrey was looking at them like going, wow, you got to get some of those. So I'm excited about that. Now, something interesting that one of my listeners, one of my friends, was scouting out places to stay for the 2024 Maui Invitational, where Auburn's going to go play. The town with the arena just burned down. It'll be interesting to see if they even play the tournament this year. We know about the fires and destruction and stuff going on out in Hawaii. Man, that hits close to home. Okay, let's bring it in.
I've been there many times to cover that. I love the place and was really sad to see that. I mean, it's apocalyptic looking.
Yeah.
The video and stuff coming out of there. But the Lahana Civic Center and Jimmy Buffett has a restaurant there on that. I made my way there being the parent ahead that day.
Yeah, I'm sitting there looking at it right now. I mean, just holy shnikes. Let's get one of the traveling Wilburys on here with us right now, Gary Harris. Hey, can anybody name me the 4 guys that were in the the 5 Wilburys? If you do, next time I see you, I will buy you a steamer pack and a 30 rack of Ham's beer.
Orbison, Dillon, Harrison, Petty, and Jeff Lynn.
We are not worthy. I love it. Gary, I mean, Dudley Dawson's on here with us right now, and I'm going to tell you something. I can't say it enough times, folks. You may be out in Seattle, Bellingham, Washington, like my good friend Dave Cody, who was in broadcasting for over 40 years. You got to get the local people. You want to know what's going on with Arkansas? Get Dudley Dawson. Tuscaloosa, Rodney Orr, Gary Harris do a great show. I know practice is limited, but you got to go Saturday. And other than that, it's the 15 minutes of stretching. But what did you see that really stood out from practice at Bryant-Denny that was open to the public last Saturday?
It was, and I watched all of it, and then went down on the field afterwards, and for the fan day part of it, and just got to kind of mingle and again, I don't know what you can see in one practice. They were in shells. I mean, I know there are some guys that they write up an entire synopsis of the fall based on getting one eyeball test. I'm not good enough to do that, or just don't know enough about it.
Those rookies.
But they're an impressive group of physical specimens. I mean, that's kind of the way it's been. I remember before Saban got here, when Alabama would play LSU, and they'd come out of the tunnel, and I just go, wow, look at that team. And and Alabama had some good teams. It wasn't like they were trash, but under Shula, but they didn't physically weren't as imposing as some teams that they played against. And by the second or third year, you already started to see those type of teams at Alabama, and it's just continued. Rob, when you go to watch a practice, and of course, I say this all the time, and Dudley will back me up on this. You go to any SEC practice, you're going to see impressive athletes. You're going to, if you're an average person, you go, wow, look at that guy. But at Alabama, I guess what has separated them for during this run, and now Georgia's, it's just even the 2s and the 3s, and even guys that are standing off to the side, they all look the part. I mean, they're just big, strong, physically imposing athletes, and a lot of them. So now, you got to form a football team out of that, and you got to find, 45, 50 guys that, that you can win with, and that's what they're trying to do. But it's a good looking group. I did, watch the quarterbacks some. They did some 11 on 11. They did some shell stuff. I mean, I thought that, both of you know how it is with quarterbacks too, even in the media, certainly among fans. If you've got a guy that you think is the guy, it's just hard to be objective, because what happens is, if you've got a sports writer or a sportscaster and he or she thinks that's the best quarterback, they're biased a little. They're going to see all the really good things that quarterback does, and they're going to probably see the flaws in the others. Not that they're purposely trying to do that. It's just kind of the way your mind works. For me this year, I really don't have a favorite and don't care. So I thought that Milroe looked the best in the shell stuff, and I thought on 11 on 11 when they were bringing some heat, that Ty Simpson looked the best, and I thought Tyler Buckner looked about like you would expect a guy to look that didn't get to go through spring and transferred in during the summer and was in his third or fourth practice or whatever it was. He didn't look awful, but he looked out of sync a little bit. So I watched the defensive line very closely, because I think that's an area where Alabama has slipped the last couple of years. And, and I'll say this, guys, they're trying to build some depth there. I think Freddie Roach is going to have to play more people, but watching Georgia up close, watching LSU, those first three that Alabama sends out there with Otis, Boygby, and Tim Smith, they'll look as good as any three defensive linemen that you'll see in the country. I mean, they'll look the part. And so, offensive line the same way. A lot of big, strong guys there. So questions at wide receiver, saw some drops, saw too many drops, particularly in, shell work. Running back, I don't think there's an issue there. Outside linebacker, I think they'll be okay with rushing guys. And, inside linebacker, they're trying to replace Henry To'oto'o, which was their signal caller. And they're trying to build some depth in the secondary. Place kicker, I think Reichard's as good as there is in the country. And the punter, Burnup's in his third year, and he's gotten better. I thought his first year that he was just quite frankly awful. Last year I thought he was better, and this year, he looked pretty good. So that's about, my just off the hoof type of recap.
Dudley, hearing that, that's what we used to hear daily. Don't you miss that when you can go to practice and make those kind of observations? That's great stuff, Gary.
Yeah, and I would say that I enjoyed that time. Now these days, whether you get 20 minutes, 30 minutes, hour or whatever, depending on the day and the time and all that, I would say that I miss that. But then again, that was 3 hours of my day every day. I don't know that I needed to know everything. So there was a fine line there between, need to see that. I chuckled when he talked about the guys going to practice and writing an exodus off of one practice. You can go there and you can fall in love with players. You can go there, you can fall in love with athleticism and forget they're going up against each other. And
that's right.
And then come and make a prediction on, yes, that offense was clicking today, Forget about the defense not being as good, and all that. So I was that guy early on in my career, maybe some late in my career, but you got to look at the whole photo album, not just a snapshot. But it is good to get a snapshot every once in a while.
Yeah. Gary, you're there in Tuscaloosa. Do you spend much time, have you, in your career? Because you're, in Dudley, I don't know if y'all are doing like Tuesday night, he and Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider do it, Tighter Insider TV. Love it. And it's so neat when you get to interact with the coach and talk to him. But do you ever sit down with Nick Saban, or did you get to talk to Kevin Steele, who's one of my favorite coaches for a long time, not just because he was at Auburn, but I've watched him from afar, and great things happen when he's around.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I mean, I've in the whole time that Nick Saban's been here, I've had a chance to be one-on-one with him just a handful of times, really, honestly, maybe 3 or 4 times that I've sat down with him.
Yeah.
But Kevin Steele, I was glad to see him come back because early on I got to know a lot of the coaches, and, most of those guys are gone. And, and it's just harder to get access now. And we don't have access to practice. And like Dudley was saying, I try to put a positive spin on that. It, frees me up to do other things. But Kevin Steele's a guy I know well. And so, yeah, after the practice was over and we were down on the field, and the way they do it, you've got Saban in the middle with a line stretching the stadium. You've got the offensive players on the west side of the stadium. So they're blocked by they're in the shade, and then the offensive players in the shade. And the defensive players are on the east side, and they're catching the sun. So their lines were shorter because it was so hot. It was brutal. So Kevin was available, and I got to visit with him for several minutes and talk with him and kind of just, man, glad to have you back, this kind of thing. And we talked, and he gave me a little insight, and he's not going to, start breaking down personnel, but, just said, what do you think? And he said, you know what? They're a good group of kids. They're coachable. They want to learn. They want to be good. And, I think in this day and age, when a coach tells you that, he's saying a lot, because I think these coaches have had groups in years where they had guys that, they worried didn't get it, and didn't want to learn and weren't all in. And I just got the feeling that he was very happy with this defensive team from a standpoint of, them trying to do what they're asked to do and learn what he wants to teach them. So, and like he said, man, this is his third time here at Alabama, his third time with Nick Saban. And, as you pointed out, he's been a lot of places. And he just says, when you coach at Alabama, it's top of the heap, man. It's nothing better in coaching college football, in his opinion, than being at the University of Alabama. So he said he was glad to be back. He said he was shocked when Nick Saban called him. He said that on the record fact on the media day at Sunday, that he was surprised, but when he got the call, he didn't hesitate to come back. And he said now at 65, this is where he hopes he closes it out at.
Yeah. Well, he ain't old, so he's got a long way to go, Dudley.
Well, I would also say that, at Arkansas, I've been very fortunate during this 40 years or whatever it is to have a lot of great coaches that were very accessible. I can only think of one. I'll let everybody guess. It shouldn't be that hard to guess. Which one was the most, difficult to deal with in terms of access and all of that. But Coach Pittman's really good at that. He will come over when we're at practice, visit with you. He definitely either keeps up with the sports writers that cover him, or has people who keep up with it for him and translate it to him, because he knows things that are going on in our lives and makes comments. And it just, as I've said all the time, just a real dude, and you appreciate that. Now, that being said, just as I've said before, during when he needs to let coaches go, you can be real, you can be a good guy, and you have to do what's best for the program. And, I think he does that as well. But it's a good mix we've had here. In fact, I'm gonna step out now as I'm gonna start getting ready to head toward Newport tonight. But enjoyed visiting with y'all, and man, season can't get here enough. August has never been my favorite month, even though my birthday is at the end of it. I'm gonna turn 60. August has never been my favorite month because it's just leading up to the games. Practice is fun and all that, but let's get to the games, and that's where we'll go. Good to visit with y'all guys.
All right, Dudley, good to see you, man.
Dudley, great having you on here as always. Be thinking about you, and congratulations on going into the Hall of Honor over in Newport, over in the Delta, not too far from Wynn, and the great folks over there, and proud to have you on here always.
Great house strong, man. Later.
All right, take care.
All right, Dudley.
I meant to tell you one thing, and I love this part. Gary, watching Tider Insider TV when y'all do it, I got a question I got to ask you. Now, and on the set, do y'all change the set around or whatever? I mean, because it's great content. If I'm in a bar watching it and I don't have the subtitles playing, and most of my friends that I hunt with have to use subtitles because they're damn near deaf. But it's a great show. Can y'all do they allow you to put video in the background, or like a Bryant Denny Stadium or images like that? Because it's a great show. It's on all over the state, but people can watch it on YouTube anywhere. And what I'm saying is, you get maybe 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes for sports. This is like a 22-minute sports cast. And I don't know why any Alabama fan on the planet would not be subscribed to Tider Insider TV. Just thought I'd ask that. That's a question came from a viewer.
Over the years, when we moved into the Digital Media Center in 2014 there in the stadium, we were in a separate studio, and we had a Tider Insider set. And even when we were when we started the show, we were actually over before the university had the station, and we were over at television station on Jug Factory Road.
Yeah. And we when you think you started in the Digital Media Center back in 2014, we lost you there for a second.
Yeah, Digital Media Center in 2014, and then prior to that, we had been when the show started, we'd been at a television station at a different location, and we had a Tider Insider set. Now we do it on the news set where we do the local news, but it's branded. All the graphics are Tider Insider graphics, and audio, and I don't know why I'm going in and out here, Rob, but I may need to get inside in a minute. I'm in my car. May need to get inside where there's some Wi-Fi, but it's I think everybody knows when they see the show that it's Tider Insider. It's branded pretty well. Like I said, we're on the news set, but we have that show. I'm pretty comfortable has its own identity. And one thing we were talking about with Coach Saban, I did. I don't want it to sound like that. I can't get in at all to see him, and I do get to do his radio show every year. as you know, I get to be a media guest on his radio show, and
Yeah.
I've had some, and then we have, he has media sessions where there's a lot of people around, and he's had some off the record deals. I just, as far as when you were asking me about one-on-ones with him, yeah, that's rare, but I think it's rare for most media, particularly local media with him. It's just the way the way that he schedules it. But I've got no complaints. I've got enough access to do my job and get what I need.
Yeah. And that was just a question from a viewer of the show who said, hey, I watch it and he's asking that. But the whole thing is it's got great content. That's the most important part is 22 minutes of content. And y'all are covering Alabama football, but you'll get into basketball, cover baseball, gymnastics, whatever. That's what I don't know why every school in America doesn't model after what y'all are doing. I mean, because you both of y'all are so prepared and knowledgeable and know what you're doing. And now, Gary, when we hear about our coaches at these SEC schools, the big story tends to come from a national guy up in New York or in California or somewhere who's an expert. Well, look, it doesn't mean because they're not local that they're not knowledgeable. Okay. I've got some great national guys that we have on the show, national women correspondents. They're fantastic, but they've worked their way and they know. I mean, you get a guy like Dennis Dodd on. Dennis has been around. I mean, he's covered a lot. And I'm not saying I'm just a pure sentimentalist, but man, I want to know what's going on in Tuscaloosa. I'm going to go to Tuscaloosa, and I wish, and I'm confident as we go forward, when fans are going to start getting really frustrated with some stuff, they're going to say, you know what, we need to put our coach back out there among the people, because it is last time I checked, it is a state university.
Yeah, I certainly think that we're not in media. We're not against more access. Obviously, we'd like to have more, but but I agree. We've talked about this before, Rob. I like the idea that it's feet on the ground. I watch a lot of the national pundits, and they add perspective and they add interest in all of those things.
Yeah.
But on a day-to-day basis, when you're talking about getting your information on a particular program that you're a fan of, I think you can find it all, especially with local TV and newspaper, still churning it out there, not in the same way we've done it in the past. But there are local websites that have people that are here that cover the program daily. And I think people are learning more now, are a little more media savvy. And I think they understand that these national guys, oftentimes they come in here, they're here for a day and they leave, and they do provide good work, and they get a lot of those guys get access that we don't get. But as far as just day to day, whether it's Alabama football coverage or whether it's somebody that is in a specialty field, whatever it is, I like being local. I like dealing with local people. I like dealing with people, insurance, lawyers, whatever it is that, if I've got an issue.
Well, it is hard, Gary, to, again,
Sports,
a national.
Man. I think if you can get some local outlets that you trust, and they're going to be there for you every day.
Yeah. Well, you remember what Chris Farley said in Tommy Boy. I can get a good look at a T-bone by sticking my head up a bull's rear, but I'll take my butcher's word for it. So what I look at when I'm looking, I want to know what's going on with Alabama. You and Rodney, you're there every day, and you got to always protect your sources and all. And what's said off the record is off the record. But on Alabama, on this team, you talk about differences the last few years, and I told Rodney this on Tuesday when he was on here with the May Veterinary Clinic Tighter Insider Report. Alabama has been dependent on the quarterback in the last few years, more so than they have in other years. This year, do you see them, and I ask you this, 15, 16, 17 type of deal? And, and Hurts was the quarterback most of 17, but you had number one or number two defenses in the country. If you can run the ball better, that lends itself to a great defense. Breaking in a new quarterback, don't you think they're going to run the ball more? That's why Alabama was picked yesterday to win 11.1 games. Now, how do you win a tenth of a game? Hell, I don't know.
Yeah. I think that the idea is to get back to, and listen, they've run the ball well. I misnomer that they quit running the ball. I mean, Najee Harris in 2020 had a fabulous season. Brian Robinson in 2021 had a good year. Jahmyr Gibbs last year ran the ball. They ran it for 195 a game last year, which isn't, by Alabama standards, great. By a lot of schools, that would be a lot of rushing yards. Now, in the two losses, they ran it for 125 against Tennessee and LSU. So, I think, Rob, that, you're not going to have Bryce Young. You're not going to have Tua Tagovailoa. You're not going to have Mac Jones. I think the feeling is that, they want to be physical. They want to run the ball. They got a great running back room. They want to play action off of that. They want to dictate to the defense. And so, you mentioned, 15, you had Jake Coker, 16 and 17, you had Jalen. Of course, Jalen could run himself, which was a huge part of the offense. And even with McElroy, it was.
Yeah. McElroy was
I
faster
think they're
than
wanting to
people
get
think.
back to being a more balanced offensive attack and run the ball. So, hey, I got to run, Rob. Sorry we cut out some, but I was running behind this morning, but good to talk with you, buddy.
Yeah. And how do they follow you? Tighter Insider in that.
You follow me on Twitter at Gary Harris _WVUA. You can also find us. Yeah. So, all right, man, I'll talk to you.
All right. Take care. That is Gary Harris, Tighter Insider TV and WVUA channel 23 in Tuscaloosa. All right. I'll tell you one thing, man. We're going to head down to, I'm getting hot just talking to him because that's one of the most humid cities on the planet. I'm talking Savannah, Georgia. He has a show, ESPN Coastal. Ben Troupe from Swainsboro, but they listed him in the program if you went to a Florida game, being from Augusta, from the big city. But, hey, like I said, Memphis is the largest small town in America, 1.2 million people, but most everybody's 1 or 2, 3 generations removed from some small town in the Delta. That's why it makes it the friendliest in the largest small town in America. I'm going to tell you what, we're going to be joined in just a minute by our good friend AD at ULM, John Hartwell. While we're waiting on him, Ben and I are going to go ahead and get to the serious subject of the Pro Bowlers Tour. Ben, I've looked at the rankings in the Pro Bowlers. I just want to see if you're paying attention. The Pro Bowlers Tour, by the way, Vanderbilt has won 2 national championships in women's bowling in the last 5 years. So I don't know how much revenue that brought in, what the TV rights were, but that's a 30 for 30. I'm sure they're going to do one on the women's bowling team. But Ben, had a lot of fun with you and Doug Dean on the Saturday round table last week. And I know Buddy Martin will not be able to be with us Saturday. They're having a celebration for life for his late wife, Joni. And it's going to be just a tough day for him. But, man, he was on with us Monday. What a warrior, man. And Franz was on as well. Got you on. Quite a media center in terms of synergy down there with GatorBaitMedia.com. Allie Peak Wilbur on there. The Gators right now. Let's talk about what's going on. You're sitting there at 3 or 4 in recruiting. Okay. Billy Napier. I asked him this at Media Days. What have you learned that, from Dabo Swinney, from Nick Saban that you still use? And what have you had to get rid of because it's obsolete? Talk about the Gators right now. I don't see this talk of Billy Napier on the hot seat is, I think, said by people that don't know a damn thing about college football.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good for ratings. You know how it is these days, Rob, is, the last thing you want to do is say the thing that's going to, actually, get people listening more. No, I got to say the controversial thing. I get it. It's one of the easiest talking points to say, hey, he's on the hot seat. Now, when you at the University of Florida, everything you do is magnified because everything you do matters. It don't matter who you are, from Ron Zook to, Will Muschamp and, Urban Meyer and so on and so forth. And I think the reason why that is because you don't lack anything. Resources, check. Infrastructure, check. Alumni, check. And I think with a guy like Billy Napier, it's always the same thing. If Billy Napier was coming from a P5 program to a P5 program, nobody would have had anything to say. But when you're coming from Louisiana, they're going to have more things to say. But Billy Napier, man, I will say this. I mean, I ain't had a chance to talk to him in person. He's aged a lot in 1 year, man. It's a lot on you when you go from a have-not to a have-got. You are the most famous coach in the state of Florida. Nothing against Coach McDaniels or Coach Doug Marrone, Coach Peterson and company and Ty Bowles, but the University of Florida, there's a reason why it's in Gainesville. It's not in the big city. It's not near the water. You got a bunch of swampy water around. If you're swimming in a lake in Florida in Gainesville, you better be an alligator tamer because you're gonna have to deal with them. They're out there.
Everywhere.
I'm a country boy, but I'm not getting in there with no gators. I'm not doing it. But I will say Billy Napier, though, he accepts the fact that, unfortunately, people are all in his business when it comes to his wallet. People are like, he makes $7.2 million. I said, well, that's the going price for a head coach in the SEC, these days. But I think he's built the hardest thing he's doing right now. And I know John could attest to this. The hardest thing to build is a culture. It's not the games or the players. You got to build a culture. And once you build a culture, then you try to add a winning culture. And then once you get that, you can just play and plug guys. I think he's doing it the right way. It doesn't help being outside of the top 25 with the preseason rankings, which I never understood preseason rankings when nobody has played. I guess you got to have a 10 matchup in week 1, week 2. But he's handling it the right way. And I think the thing he's learned, I think the most, is to not give us the coach speech. Just talk to the media. Don't say the things that you say to the players because you're dealing with adults when you're in these meeting rooms. But he seems to be handling it well. He's not a rah-rah guy, though, man. He's not doing no TikToks where he dancing. You're not going to see that from Billy. Now, he might get in I don't know where they're getting these Maybachs and Lamborghinis in Gainesville. They ain't have them when I was down there.
Yeah.
That's for recruiting. That's for recruiting. But obviously, he's a part of the family. I got to root for him. It's like a family member, man. Whether you like him or not, you got to root for him. But I am rooting for him. I think that because he doesn't, Graham Mertz, people trying to see what type of player is he going to be. But look, he got a fiery defensive coordinator, Coach Armstrong. He got a lot of help coming back on defense. He got 2 running backs on offense, solid offensive line. Unfortunately, we got, most people outside of John know where Utah is. But we got to go to Utah, right? That's a long flight, people. And if we can, and Mr. Rising, I know that Cam Rising, their quarterback, I know he's showing throws from the waist up. They won't show the waist down. I ain't never seen a video to where you won't show his waist down to see if he got that brace on. But it's gonna be a long season no matter what. I think for Billy Napier, it always comes down to this: are you competing for number 2 in the East? Do you look suitable in Jacksonville? Because it can't be a beatdown. And can you beat LSU? Because forget Georgia. Florida ain't beat LSU in a while. You got to find a way to get, even though they got, Daniels and company coming back, you got to find a way to do those things. And unfortunately for Coach Napier, you can't lose to Vanderbilt 2 years in a row. You shouldn't lose. Nothing against Vandy, but you can't lose to Vanderbilt 2 years in a row. And them Tennessee boys, they got a nice quarterback at Joe Milton. So you're going to have he gonna have a hard task ahead of him. But at the end of the day, you think anybody's going to feel bad if Florida loses? No one feels bad for Florida. Because no matter what we do or don't have, you got to go out there and show and prove. And I think Billy Napier's up to the task.
Yeah. Well, if anything, he pulled all of his hair out from the stress of that job. I mean, in his first year. But look, John Hartwell, you're down there at ULM. You came from the Mountain West, 7.5 years at Utah State. And, I want to talk about what's going on with you. I watched Locked On Sunbelt with Schultze yesterday with your Sunbelt commissioner. That's good. That's good stuff, man. And that's a cool. I like what's going on there. Before we get into that and talking about Southern college sports, your thoughts about what happened Friday and over the weekend to the Pac-12. As Doug Dean sent in a text a little while ago, in the SEC it just means more. In the Pac-12 today, it just means 4.
Yeah, a lot of
funny man, Doug Dean.
And the trickle down continues because I know last night the ACC presidents met and, they're trying to make a decision regarding Stanford and Cal. And it's, here's the interesting thing. And people say, oh, this is a surprise. There have been the underlyings of this whole dissolving of the Pac-12 for a while. And, there are people that blame Larry Scott, the previous commissioner. There are people that blame the current commissioner. I think there's enough blame to go around. But as you said, the end result is you've got 4 schools left holding the bag, but that bag's got a hole in the bottom of it. And, again, all of these moves, and this is what is, and this is a self-indictment of our business. We're hypocritical as administrators, as coaches, as anybody involved with the institutions, if you say these moves aren't for 2 reasons, and that's dollars and cents. And so when we're in such a critical time trying to get congressional help to maybe put some guardrails on NIL and some of these other things, these moves that make no geographical sense, and quite frankly, from a student athlete welfare perspective, and no offense here, Ben, let's leave football a little bit out of the equation. But when you're talking about softball and volleyball and women's tennis and all of these schools going multiple times cross country, where is the educational component of that? I mean, and that's just, again, I work in the industry. I love the industry. I want college athletics to continue to thrive, and it will at some level. But we're being hypocritical when all of these chess moves are being made that are about dollars and cents, and we want to limit NIL opportunities for student athletes. And I know it's not across the board. There's not a ton of tennis and volleyball kids getting huge amounts of money, but it all plays in the same equation. So, and I don't think the dominoes have finished falling. 2 weeks ago when we were talking, and I was talking to Dave Browne this morning. So Dave Browne he worked for ESPN for a long time. He now runs a company called Gridiron. Dave Browne is kind of known as the guru of college football scheduling. I mean, he's the behind the scenes guys who puts all of these, games together, non-conference matchups. And, we've got a couple of future opponents out there that are, Big Ten opponents and looking at the changes. And, there's still some volatility. When you look at Florida State, and, I know Ben has to chuckle a little bit at that, but, Commissioner Slide made a pretty solid statement that, the SEC, at least today, is really not interested in Florida State, but they got way over their skis. And, it wasn't just the president, it was multiple Board of Trustees members. And, call it posturing, call it what you want. But I don't see the Big Ten or the SEC, either one, opening the doors to them right now. And right now they're kind of ostracized, and rightfully so, for what was said about their fellow ACC members. So, and again, the ACC looks like, at least the rumblings coming out of last night's meeting, that Stanford and Cal aren't slam dunk picks to go in that league. And then you've got an SMU who's saying, well, hey, we'll forego some of the league distribution for 3, 4, 5 years to potentially go in. I mean, you talk about selling your soul to the devil, but it's crazy. And I think there's still a couple of more chess moves to go. Yeah.
Well, Ben, you heard what he said. It's the non-revenue sports, the Wednesday night volleyball game, Washington at Maryland. That's now, what about Kansas City or Omaha or St. Louis becoming the midway points for a lot of these games? I think that's likely to happen. It would make sense for damn sure, Ben.
Yeah, it is. I mean, John make a great point, and that's what I'm usually talking about, right? I mean, 12, 13 games out the year, when half of them going to be at home, it's not going to be that bad for football. But when you talk about volleyball, when you talk about baseball, when you talk about these non-revenue generating sports, well, they're on these networks. You watching them. Some of the best athletes are coming from these non-generating sports, and you got to ask yourself, when people talk about best interest, I always say this: okay, what is the best interest of a student athlete they're not getting NIL and they got to go cross country playing a game that you hope does not get delayed, by the way. You don't want no weather delay. So then that's going to push them back getting home. So that's going to get them back home to professors who could care less. And okay, well, this is what you chose to do. It's not what I don't like about the entire situation is all you got to do is be honest. Like, people know what they're looking at. They know it's about the money. We know, we get it. But if it's about the money, say it's about the money. Don't be Florida State talking trash about the other members of your conference. Now, the Bobby Bowden days, people would have been like, yeah, because they holding up the ACC. Well, they haven't done that. They had a good year last year. But once again, outside of Florida State football, Florida State soccer, you ain't talking a lot about Florida State as a whole. And now you just said, well, we want out of the ACC, and all of a sudden Big Ten ain't picking up the phone. Greg Sankey, he don't got to pick up the phone for nobody. Not at this point. And you can't even get Notre Dame to honor their football side of things in the ACC. When it comes to these student athletes, I'm always on the side of the student athletes from this standpoint. If it's not in our best interest, don't vote it in. But that's not how things go. This TV money is so crazy now. They jumping on it. And I mean, we make a lot of jokes about Vanderbilt, which what they are in baseball, they're not in football. They're going to get a big check though. Vanderbilt say, listen, we've been here. Thank God we're not a team trying to come into a conference. Nope. We've been here. They're going to welcome Texas and Oklahoma here in a year or so. But the John Hartwells of the world needs to be the one in these rooms saying, hey, if you know nothing about college athletics, you shouldn't be able to vote. And that's just common sense. Like, I've seen a lot of neurologists. I can tell you a little bit about the brain. That's it, though. It's not like I'm at the meeting saying Ben Troupe is going to be presenting about neurology. Listen, man, the brain is a very powerful thing. I mean, y'all seen the commercial back in the day with this is your brain on drugs. And no, it can't be that. That's the only part about college athletics that scares me is if you have no interest in college athletics outside of money, you shouldn't be able to vote. You can't make decisions because the lifeblood of college athletics is the athlete. That is the lifeblood. And when John walks in, I'm saying that's John Hartwell, man. He used to be at Utah State. Now he's at ULM. You can't say that's Rob Johnson. Who is that? That's Mr. Johnson's son. How did he get in here? They give a lot of money to the program.
Yeah.
That's the part that's scary because if it's like this in 2023, could you imagine what 2030 gonna look like? Could you imagine? It's not gonna go, and people not gonna say, wait a minute, we should do something different. No, the money's gonna keep going up. And teams want to be a part of that. Because if you tell them, at least we get some of the money. Who gets some of the money? Well, we got a new building going up. We got because facilities cost hundreds of millions of dollars now. They only last 5 years or you blow it up, do something different. So I think if the people who get to make the decisions change, this might slow down. But if that doesn't happen, man, please forget conferences. You're going to have college football free for all. Because you remember when they said no alcohol in the stadiums? No beer, that's gone. Remember they said betting? ESPN got a freaking thing with the betting now. So all that stuff that used to be, whoa, can't do it. Man, they're doing that open. So I know we a long ways from the Burger King, McDonald's bags with the money in it. Man, please. They walk around with a clear bag. You can see the money in it. Saying, could you show me where the AD's office is? Well, I talk to him. Were you supposed to do this after hours, man? School is still going on. So I'm not mad. I'm just happy. I'm just disappointed at the fact that what you said, John, we know it's about the money. Like, we know. But they say, no, man, it's about, no, it's not. No, because the best athletes do not play football. At every college, the best ones, they don't play football. Football got the biggest stadium. Trinity Thomas at Florida, this girl got more top 10 finishes than gymnastics. She can be in the Olympics. But guess what? She plays a revenue generating sport. But you don't think Florida would throw her on anything that Trinity. But when Graham Mertz walked in, they say, Trinity, could you give us 10 minutes? Because the starting quarterback from Florida just walked in. And and that's the problem. So I don't know where this thing is gonna go. I just know that once again, if people aren't involved with college athletics, why do they get to make decisions? That's the scariest part. That's like voting on education and you graduated high school 40 years ago, right? Well, education has changed. So I don't, like I said, the Florida State, sorry, when you had momentum, Bobby Bowden was your coach. Jimbo Fisher was your coach. I like Coach Norvell. He ain't them. And you talking trash about your other guys in the conference. You better win the ACC this year. You better win it. Because if you are not in Charlotte at the end of the year, the Boo Birds already, the finger pointing is already starting right now. Like, how they going to, because football can't be the end all be all, but if your cash cow ain't your best sport, you shouldn't be talking. You might want to, I know y'all had a good year in 2022, but this is a new year. If North Carolina and Clemson come back to life, because what happens when you show up to the party and you just said, I don't like y'all food. I don't like y'all venues. Florida State's outside. To do what? I mean, they want to eat. Well, put them over there in the corner. Make them look at us eat. Because I don't understand stuff like that. Like, you got to have people on board saying, hey, Clemson, hey, North Carolina, hey, Virginia, y'all going to do this with us? Yeah, y'all sure? Because we about to do this press conference, and then they go out there and do it, and then they turn on you. I know how it is. You got to be a collective front. We compete on Saturdays and whatever. But as far as like uniformity or unity, hey, man, ask the Big Ten how it looked during the pandemic when they couldn't come together. You don't want that stuff, man. Even if it's fake, it's like a good marriage. It's only gonna be. I'm not gonna show you the stuff that's bad in my marriage. Oh no, when we walk in there, girl, I'm here. You Sally. That's it. We can argue in the car. We're not arguing in front of my parents. They already think that my mama told me not to marry. See, that stuff can't happen. And I'm only giving scenarios. So y'all happily married me. I'm one of them. I'm just saying we don't show the bad stuff in person. Because you know what she gonna say? Why did you do me like that? You slapped me. Yeah. It doesn't matter. So I'm just saying, keep a happy home, man. We don't show the bad stuff on the outside for when the strangers are watching.
Yeah, and no, great take on it. And I'm gonna throw something out for you, John, and I'm gonna let you answer this, and then I got a bunch of stuff to go with for both of y'all because I'm getting tons of questions coming in. But you remember just a few years ago, you'd say to your wife, or she'd say to you, "What are we doing paying for this cable? It's $250 a month for cable and the interwebs," as Al Gore called it. Why are we doing this? What's everybody doing now? I mean, I got kids 23 to 34. It's all about streaming. You go from paying $250 a month to $70 a month. I get my friend George Gaddis Home Innovation, GaddisHome.com. That guy can come into your house for a lot cheaper than you realize. I mean, I know someone was quoted $20,000 to get his home to become a smart home. And I'm talking this guy could pay for anything. He did it for the guy for $4,500. George is that good. Well, streaming. Now, my 88, 95-year-old parents, I'm going, y'all can cut your cable bill in half. And they're going, they would rather do it the old-fashioned way because that's what they know. And I'm like, Dad, how did you get a degree in architecture and you, Mother, a degree in physics or English lit or whatever it is, and you don't want to do it? They go, well, we just like it the way it is. I said, well, you can't be scared. But people are going away. They're cutting the cord. I remember being in Sylacauga, Alabama last year, talking to somebody. Said just a few years ago, we had 8,000 families, hooked up to cable or whatever. Now it's 1,200. So the free market said enough on these ridiculous cable bills. And now you're streaming. And you know what? Once you do it, you're like, wow, look how much money I'm saving. We talk about money. And John, dadgummit, if I could wave a magic wand, I'd put you and Ben to be commissioners of college football and college sports. I've talked to Rick Neuheisel. He said he'd do it. He's got a law degree. Ben, you got common sense. You're smart. I don't know what your degree's in, but whatever it's in, I don't know you may not be using the major you took for what you're doing, but you got a grip on this like very few people have. John, your CPA, background in public accounting, graduated from the Citadel. You didn't quit the Citadel. You toughed it out and you endured. We need people like you. And I'm going to tell you something. It's refreshing. I had Eddie Robinson III on the show a couple of weeks ago. Man, that was so cool. And he listens every day now, lives over in Atlanta. And I said, I used to watch your grandfather's show as a kid. Man, we need those kind of guys around, like Eddie Robinson. But I watched the Sun Belt Commissioner with Schultz on the Locked On Sun Belt yesterday. Great podcast. I recommend anybody subscribe. You get 14 teams in the Sun Belt. it's not the SEC, but damn it, they're having a lot of fun. They're going to the games. We love football. We love sports. And when you're at the games, the conversations should be about the games, not about the money and stuff all the time. I know it's what makes the grass grow, but it wears you out. You're new in this league. Lots happening. You got a challenge at ULM. But isn't that fun waking up every morning knowing that the only way is up and you wouldn't be there if they didn't need your expertise?
Yeah, it is. And you talk about the Sun Belt and Commissioner Keith Gill has done an unbelievable job in our league and I tell people all the time, it's a much different league today, 8 years later, than when I left, in 2015. And a lot of that credit goes to Keith Gill and the institutions investing in athletics. And, when you look around our league at some of the coaches that are in the league, and, just like Ben talked about Billy Napier jumping from Lafayette to Gainesville, you've got a nice mix of rising stars, guys like Kane Womack at South Alabama, John Sumrall at Troy, to guys that are veterans in the business like Terry Bowden here. We've got, some others. So it's a great mix and very competitive football. And, obviously last year was a stellar year. And I think this year is going to be even better. And really that league or last year was springboarded by several wins over Power 5 schools early in the season. And I think that opportunity is there again this year. But I think you're right. As people get caught up in the headlines of all the dollars, and that's not to say, again, there are coaches in our league making good money, not near what they are in a Power 5 league, but they're doing well, and investments in facilities. There is a part of the football purist or the basketball purist or whatever the sport may be that says, hey, this has not gotten, this is not so close to the NFL or the NBA or whatever. This is still kind of for the love of the game. When you go to places like Statesboro, Georgia, and, there's 27,000 people there on a Saturday afternoon, and people are, tailgating, and they got their barbecue out there, and they've got, their local country music hero, Cole Swindell, who's an alum, and he's wearing his Georgia Southern hat.
Yeah.
That it still has not got, it's a big deal. And obviously it's a big deal in Southeast Georgia, but it's not so commercialized. And I think, in today's world of everything being about the dollar, there's something refreshing about our level. And quite frankly, the league, I think, is doing a really good job of capitalizing on it. So you take that component combined with, the American Athletic Conference and Mike Oresco, the commissioner, and Danny White was a part of this when he was at UCF, saying Power 6, all these things. Well, the American Athletic now with Cincinnati and Houston and UCF all going to the Big 12, they're not the dominant factor they are. The Mountain West, whatever happens now, San Diego State got out there on a limb just like Florida State and said, hey, we think we're better than the rest. So really now is the time, you could argue and say, and I think it's going to play out on the gridiron this fall, that the Sun Belt Conference is the best group of 5 league there is out there. So we've got that window, and all of the ADs, all of the presidents, all of the coaches understand that, and that's a big responsibility. But I absolutely think we're about to capitalize even further on it.
Yeah, see, this is what, and Ben, you're over there not too far from Statesboro and Savannah, and John, you start getting to the point where, in 32 years as a financial advisor, if there's one thing that just makes my stomach turn, it's when families start fighting over money. Blood's thicker than water, but money's thicker than blood. I learned that from Barry Blackburn, my close friend who passed away 9 years ago, the best estate planning attorney I've ever known in my life. But he used to tell people, He'd go into a room with 10, 12 family members and say, he'll tell you what, 11 of y'all want to play nice. You want to be different. It's 11 versus 1. I don't like your odds. And they've all decided if you can't play nice, you're not going to be in this trust. You know, money, it gets old after a while. And I was told one time, if money can solve it, it's not a problem. But, John, you're talking about the Sun Belt. And my wife is right. She says, God, y'all Auburn fans, y'all are crazy. Y'all get mad when the other team scores or gets the ball. She goes, enjoy it. She goes, I'm a Tennessee fan. You know, we still love going to Knoxville, but we know there's pressure to win. We get that. But, you know, I find myself getting where I listen to what Ben is saying, what you're saying, John. God bless. Appreciate the day. Appreciate going to the game and just being there. And then the real story is the student athletes. And it's so easy. I'm sure my phone's going to blow up. People going, Browne, it's all about the money. It's just a business. Oh, God bless America. It's about the people. Don't ever forget about the people. Because years from now, and Ben, you know, I was talking to a friend of mine who was an associate AD at Auburn, whose father used to be the AD at Florida. And he told me, he goes, in 1996, I was working, I'm a Florida grad, but I'm working at the time in media relations director at Southern Miss. So we go there in 06 to play Florida. And they have a 10-year reunion of the 2006 national champion Florida Gators. And a bunch of my buddies were saying, hey, man, you going to come out there on the field with us? You know, at halftime, when they recognize that championship, he goes, listen, I'm proud to be a Florida grad, but Southern Miss, I just looked in the bottom right-hand corner, signs my checks. So, you know, my heart might be in Gainesville, but my ass belongs to the USM. Okay, that's how it goes. But damn it, we better be thinking about the people. And Ben, you and John was a college basketball player at the Citadel. You think that was easy? You know, you get through getting reamed at practice, getting a new one every day. Then you got to go back to your platoon. You got to go back with your gunnery sergeant. I am gunnery sergeant Hartman. You will not speak unless spoken to. And the first and last words out of your filthy sewers will be, sir. Hey, you maggots understand me. Sir, yes, sir. Sound off like you got a pair. Outstanding ladies. I want you to know this, that Ben Troupe and John Hartwell are two great Americans. But both of y'all are making incredible points. I want to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to come back. I'm really just getting out of the way because both of y'all have forgotten more than I know about this stuff because you are student athletes. But here's the thing. Look at you. You went through all that. You got your degrees, and you're out there as a voice for the student athletes for sports that you didn't play. We know football and basketball are really high profile. But you also understand, having been through it, what the non-revenue sports people go through. Ben said it best. The best athlete's not on football. Trinity Thomas, you know, it could be a swimmer. It could be the person running a 3:46 mile. A lot to think about. But we'll be right back for the final segment, Sidelines, on this Thursday, right after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Okay, we're going to get to it in just 1 second, John. I want to say this. You remember that scene in the opening of Full Metal Jacket when they're there in the barracks right there at the beginning? Gunnery Sergeant Hartman is giving the friendly address to the new recruits there at basic training, and you hear this guy, "Is that you, John Wayne?" Then he goes, "Who said that? Who's there something?" Man, I'm gonna tell you what. You think about that. You had to go through that every day. But John, back to you. I want to say real quick, rumbleboxinggym.com. Check them out on our website, 1835 Union Avenue, Midtown Memphis, 7 days a week, boxing. Both of y'all probably have boxed before. That is 45 minutes, 15 3-minute rounds of calisthenics, star jacks, jumping jacks, planks, burpees, push-ups, dips, crunches, and then you do the dumbbells. Then you go over, then you hit the 250-pound bags, hook, punch, gut. And you got instructors that are definitely squared away. rumbleboxinggym.com, open every day of the week. Check them out on our website, on the sidelines.live website. John Hartwell.
Hey, Rob, since you do that every day, you gonna stand up and show us your six-pack. And I'm not talking about the Hams beer neon sign back there behind you either.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, that Rumble Boxing, you ought to see Ann Camp Lee, my friend, the owner. I mean, she's just like a piece of steel. I mean, and you go into those classes, they got some people that come twice a day. And you talk about losing some weight, but they do team building. They got teams coming in there, and boy, that will toughen you up. They can have, 48 people in a class at one time, and you're motivated. You will not quit. You will not fail. You will not falter. You will give everything you've got, because we got John Hartwell ready to address Big Ben Troupe.
Hey, Ben, I did a quick glance during our break. So I know first and foremost in your heart, and rightfully so, because you gave the blood, sweat, and tears to the Gators. But I see where the Gators have an off date, Saturday, October 21st. Hey, here's my personal invitation. I would love you to come be on the sidelines with the ULM Warhawks at Statesboro. That you talk about you talk about two coaches, Clay Helton, who obviously a lot of people remember from Southern Cal. Yep. Terry Bowden had an undefeated season at Auburn. You talk about two coaches who probably on the backsides of their career, but hey, those guys hadn't forgotten anything about what they coach in football. So if you have that Saturday open, would love you to be the guest of the Warhawks down in Statesboro for that one.
I will be there October 21st. I will be there, and even listen, John, let me tell you what John did though, Rob. John said, "Yeah, man, we are the best." A group of five. No. They've been the best group of five. And this is why, right? People go, where's the evidence? There's a guy by the name of Nick Saban. He's been there since 2007. Who did he lose to in 2007? ULM. He lost to them, right? Mm-hmm. There's a guy by the name of Ed Ogeron, right? He was at LSU. Who did he lose to? Troy. This big-time Tennessee team, right? They lost to a team called Georgia State. I think they were at Tennessee. Yeah. They went to – remember when Iowa State was supposed to be a college football playoff bound team? Who did they lose to first? Who smacked them? Listen, Louisiana went up there and said, y'all, because I'm trying to tell you, college football is like across the – like certain teams got a certain talent level. I get that. That don't mean they better. They got better talent. Most teams – Sun Belt is called the Fun Belt. Only to the Sun Belt fans, though. The one any AD around the country in the P5 will say, man, what's the conference you stay away from? The camera zone? Nope. You stay away from the Sun Belt, man. They will not only beat you, they will listen, and you got to give them that check. They're like, yeah, I'm telling you, I respect the Sun Belt for this reason alone. When they were trying to decide who was Florida gonna get, I said, please get Willie Napier. I said, they say why? Because I know what he does. I've seen it. And to people saying the Sun Belt wouldn't do nothing, listen, we always say this. It's called the bottom feeder mentality, right? The bottom feeders in the SEC could be whomever you want to pick, right? They always say, I guarantee you this. Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Mizzou, those type of teams, right? And they're good teams. If they had to deal with the Sun Belt every year, I'm telling you, you're not, man, the Sun Belt don't have, and at the end of the day, when you talk about like the upper echelon, the Sun Belt got a lot of good teams. You add the ULMs, you add the Marshalls of the world, you add the Southern Misses of the world. I mean, Frank Gore Jr. has had Southern Miss Probably just scored another touchdown. What I like the most about the Sun Belt is big time football, man. And I'm telling you, Coach Helton, people say, how did he end up at Georgia? Because he know, like, if you're from the South, you want to coach in the South, you understand Southern college football is Southern college football. The SEC is the creme de la creme. I get ACC, but you know about them teams out west. They don't want to be. They hear about the Sun Belt. Iowa State every day says, "Dude, we had a shot." What happened first game of the year? What do you mean? And man, Louisiana beat the break, but like they smacked us. Like forget all that cute throwing the ball around spread. Let's get all in. Let's get here in a nice little tight little wide, and let's see. We talked about boxing. Running the football is a boxing match. I'm gonna punch you in your face, play in and play out. And guess what? At the end of the game, you're gonna show me how your mouth look. You ain't got no teeth in your mouth because I'm in the sun. I don't need no teeth. I'm in the Sun Belt. I'm gonna show you how your mouth look, and I'm telling you, October 21st. Let me say this. This is the first. I've never been invited to a game by an AD. So I don't know Scott Strickland at Florida. I'm gonna say, bro, you need to get with it, because John Hartwell show you he's rolling out the red carpet. And did I grow up a Georgia Southern Eagles fan? Yes, because I'm from Swainsboro, 30 miles to the west, right? And this is the thing, right? Coach Helton gonna say, is that Ben over there? Yeah. Man, what are you doing? I got invited. So, the boy, we're gonna be in Paulson, But at the end of the day, hey, I said, Coach, I hope y'all play well. Because Louisiana, they don't come this far just to put on this show. That's a long flight, to get over there. Now, I will be there October 21st. You know what I'm saying? I'm repping them ULM boys. And I think that's what I love about college football, though. It's not about, I got into this business because Georgia Southern beat my Florida Gators at Florida. I'm in New Jersey at the time. I got to change my phone number. That's when it changed. I went to a 347, blowing on my phone. They're like, Ben, what happened? I'm trying to like, what are you talking about? Y'all just got beat. And the guy that beat us, Jared McKinnon, who killed us that day, his brother, Lester Norwood, went to Florida. There's a picture, if I can find it, of me and Lester at our sports banquet, and there go little Jared right there in front of us taking pictures. And who would have thought all these years later they would come to Florida? And I told you, what did I tell you again? We was being real cute on offense. Georgia Southern go, let's come in here together. And let's see. I next smack. The game's over.
Hey, Ben, I know you love this. I know you love this from the tight end position, but year after year watching Georgia Southern, and they'd have a 6'4", 300-pound tight end who may get the ball thrown to him 3 times a year, but I promise you, when that triple option's coming around the end, he is wearing out a linebacker or a tackle trying to get out there and stop the pursuit.
I love it. I've been a big time Sun Belt fan from the jump, because getting into this side of a college football and seeing the analytics side and really start breaking down players and plays. The only difference in LSU and ULM, right, is TV coverage. That's it. Because when people say, no, I'm telling you, because the one we see the most is the one we think is better. That's not true. Just because I see you a lot more, no. Like Coach Ogeron got a voice and a face only a mother can love. Love Coach O, right? But he's the head coach. He's the head coach of LSU, right? So he's going to get the bulk of it. But think about this. I mean, when you think about college football across the board, if you take every tight end, he ain't got on uniform, and you stack them across, they all look the same. So some going to be a little taller, a little shorter, right? But what happens is when you do it at a certain school, they put more on it than when it's at another school. When you do it here, and to me, that's the part. Zach Wilson was the second overall pick, right, out of BYU. They couldn't find nobody to play. They go on over there to Conway. They going over there to Coastal Carolina, and they lose. Listen. We're going to add Coastal. They lose. They do not move up or down in the rankings. You know what that let me know? The voters, they didn't watch the game because it didn't go their way. Oh, well, Zach Wilson becomes the second overall pick. Nothing against Zach. I kept telling people this. Just watch the Coastal game. Whoever else BYU played, may God bless him. They didn't watch it. What is he doing now? He's backing up to one of the greatest ever, right? And Aaron Rodgers. They said, dude, we made a mistake. And he's the number 2 overall pick. So he's going to play unless we get some. They had to go get the GOAT to get the number 2 out of there, because I'm telling you, when people say don't watch this tape. That's the tape you need to watch. I mean, every game but this game. Because the game he lost, what people was talking about was how good was that Coastal Carolina defense? They felt disrespected. He's going to win the Heisman. He's going to pad his step.
Yeah.
You don't go to Conway. Listen, you don't go to Conway. You don't go to Monroe. You don't go to Statesboro. You don't go to Troy. Troy just had a bum, that just going to the Hall of Fame. Marcus, well, he's a bum. And you know who played on the other side of him? I see him in Europe. That's the starting defensive ends. I see two-time Super Bowl. So I'm telling you, if you're looking for talent, think about it. SEC, small towns. Sun Belt, small. You see this. Go to them little small towns where they ain't got but one Walmart, a grocery store that's only local. It's gonna be like Save a Lot or Martin's, and it ain't gonna be Piggly Wiggly.
Price Chopper.
Don't forget the Piggly Wiggly now.
Listen, I grew up in a Piggly Wiggly city, so I know about Piggly Wiggly. We used to slang the commercial. When you walk in and they know you by your first name, those are the type of cities got the best athletes. Why? Because there ain't nothing else going on. Nothing else going on. Ain't no. Listen, where we from? If you jump off a tall building, you can't kill yourself. You can hurt yourself. You can't keep because it ain't high enough. It's on the 2th floor. We can say, Mr. Johnson, come on, man. You're gonna hurt your ankle. But at the end of the day, I respect the Sun Belt football because at the end, I didn't go to Georgia Southern not because they wasn't good enough. They didn't recruit me. Georgia Southern did not come to the crib because I'm telling you, at the end of the day, there's a bum. The original Adrian Peterson went to Georgia Southern. Now there's another one with Oklahoma, but the original one went to Georgia Southern. And guess what? And when I was at the College Football Hall of Fame, I'm looking for Adrian Peterson. The guy gonna say, from Oklahoma? I'm like, boy, no. I'm talking about arguably the greatest running back in college football, had more rushing yards in the postseason than most people have in a career. That's Adrian Peterson I'm talking. And you know what he does on campus? If you walk around with a Georgia shirt on, he drives around in a golf cart and gives you a pin that throws a flag on the play. Take that shirt off. Put on the Georgia Southern. That's what I'm talking about. So, but October 21st, Mr. Hartwell, I will be there. And like I said, Georgia Southern, may God help y'all, because I know how them ULM boys get down. I know how you get out in my road.
I like it. We'll look forward to that, Ben. We'll work out all the details, but I'll make sure you're swagged out and Warhol prepared.
Well,
nice. I'm looking forward to it.
What I love about it is, and it's a lot like this when you think about the Sun Belt. And a lot of years you can argue recently it's better than the Pac-12 was in football. So that's what I'll give a market comparison because that's my other career, small to mid cap, and then you got large caps. Well, Sun Belt can be mid cap, a lot of mid cap size, which can grow into large caps. And speaking of DeMarcus Ware and Usi Umanyura, again, I give away a lot of steamer packs of crystals, but can anybody tell you where both of these kids played their high school football and which local SEC school did not recruit either one of them because they were, quote, undersized? And also, as a caveat, does anybody recognize over my right shoulder that picture in the background I'm looking at? What stadium is that, folks?
I think they went to school in Lee County, Alabama. I think that would be called Auburn High School.
Yeah, and not recruited by the Tigers. And the Hall of, it's unreal. What stadium is that, though, I'm looking at right there? Does anybody recognize that? On the banks of the Tennessee River?
Oh, Lord. I don't even want to. See,
that is a gift. That is a gift from Johnny Majors. Signed that for Audrey's late father, and it says another full house at Neyland Stadium. And you think about these stadiums, the atmosphere and all like that. Like Ben's just saying. I mean, you know what's cool, Ben, is that you know the guys. You know so much about the Sun Belt. You're in Savannah. You're over there, and I know people that went to Sun Belt schools too. They're just as excited. I think about Terry Bowden, just to give you an idea. When he came to Auburn, he was like, staring basically an execution right in the face. The NCAA, the buzzards were circling. It was the respirator was on, the priest was in the room, and they were calling the relatives to the bedside because Auburn was going down. Well, about August 15th of 93, several friends of mine were out on the practice field when the NCAA handed down that sentence. You know what Terry Bowden did? Rather than have a damn pity party and go, woe is me, waiting for the other shoe to drop, he gathered everybody together and said, look, 2 ways you can handle this. We just got punched in the head, sucker punch, okay? We can feel sorry for ourselves, or we can make this the most special team in America. And they did exactly that. They had a sentence. You could be no TV for one of the 2 years. He said, we'll take the first year, no TV. Next year we'll be on TV, but why go backwards? And you know what they did? They went, as Jim Fife, the voice of the Auburn Tigers, said when they defeated Alabama 22-14 after a 71-yard touchdown run by running back James Bostic out of Fort Lauderdale Dillard High School. 11-0, 11-0, 11-0. The best team on radio. That's what they did. And Auburn could have gone into the abyss of hell. Alabama coming off a national championship. So, yeah, I mean, you know what's cool about this is it's never too late to be great, to turn things around. And I think that what matters is that fans of every school, what's the greatest thing you can give them? Fair ticket prices and cold beer. No, you can give them hope. You got to give them hope. And you know what that sign says behind me? My goal in life is to be the kind of person my dog thinks I am. I'm looking right at it right there. This is hard. I feel like the weatherman trying to, there we go, right there. My goal in life is to be the kind of person my dog thinks I am. And looking at the weather here in the valley, going to have a cold front coming from the, I'm not the weatherman. That you have to be very talented to do that. Just don't wear a green suit on the set, because all you will be is a head and some, maybe a hand or two coming out of there. But I love this discussion about football on all levels. God, Ben, that's going to be, hey, John, that's going to be a wild and fun day over there in Statesboro. And that's what I love. And you know what? If we don't get a handle on the major college football Power 5 stuff that's going on, you know, the Sun Belt is right there, the Fun Belt. And Dave Schultz, I told him, we're talking about it right now. Subscribe to that Schultz cast, the Sun Belt, Locked on Sun Belt. But people are going to say, you know what? I just want to go back. I mean, what do we love in our heart more than college or pro football? What do we really love? High school football. Because it's still the last pure form of amateurism. I'm not a fan of IMG. Leaving your team to go down there with a bunch of other guys who've left their teams, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not. You know, what is that great song Kenny Chesney wrote and sings, The Boys of Fall? I mean, that's one of the best songs you've ever heard. But, John, you know, I have a feeling before you retire, you're going to be, and I don't use the term czar, because if you look what happened to the Romanovs and the other czars, that did not end well. I don't like that term. I like commissioner. I think of you like Commissioner Gordon on Batman, okay? And what was that great city that they lived in Batman? Gotham.
Gotham City,
okay.
Yeah.
Damn right. You damn right, as Roy D. Mercer says. That's Mercer. My wife, Sharon Jean, she come in there to your clinic, but in my brains, and you done give her some kind of pills and stuff, and she done lost her drive. I met her at the door the other night wrapped in saran wrap and didn't get so much as a bead of sweat off of her. And you better get her off them pills, or I'm going to come down there and jerk a couple of pop knots in your head, by God. But anyway, man, I tell you, that coffee really gets to you about this time. But I love this discussion because it's about the spirit of the game. And, John, you heard what Ben just like, holy shnikes. That dude underneath the best brims, the best lids of any guest we have. I love his hats. That's a smart dude. You know, I mean, if I'm an AD, I'm going like, wow, I'm going to play this all over the place, because there are lots of people that feel this way about it. How much fun is your job, John? I mean, I'm wound up, I'm going crazy, but how much fun is it every morning when you're up at 5 o'clock working out, exercising, and looking at the stuff you got to do every day? Is it a lot more fun than you ever dreamed of?
Yeah, I mean, it's really energizing, and obviously, you know, there are challenges in our jobs, but hey, you got to. I'm a glass half full guy. You got to approach the challenges as opportunities, not obstacles, and you know, to be able to make a difference in young people's lives. You know, we have 375 student athletes, and I think about what the opportunity to participate and compete in college athletics did for me, and to pay that forward, to be able to make sure that, you know, the experience for all of our student athletes, whether it's, you know, your starting tailback or a walk-on your women's tennis team, that they all have an equal opportunity at success. And, you know, their athletic career is going to be but a snippet of their lifetime. And if we can give them the tools they need to be successful in whatever profession they go into, then we've done our job. And that's what exhilarates me every day. Yeah, the wins, the big time wins, the championships, things like that are important. But in the big scheme of life, giving them that solid foundation to be successful in whatever they do beyond when the last shot is made or the last ball is caught or the last goal is kicked, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And you know what? We're about out of time. We got a few minutes left, but something I'm seeing with NIL, and it's not everywhere, but everybody's getting ridiculous amounts of money. There's a handful. It's kind of like the Olympics, but more and more I'm seeing like Rocket Sanders, running back at Arkansas, what he's doing with his NIL money. I think he's a new dad, and he got a deal with one of the diaper deals, and he gives a certain amount of that money every check away. And I've seen that over and over and over. You know, I mean, you don't have to do it. But Ben, I mean, you know, you had a great career. You made great money in the NFL, but that's just kind of a snapshot, one picture, 5 years in the NFL. And, you know, you got out, you were 27 years old. I always tell people this about if it, you know, save that money. You said you had some very good, I'd like to have Milburn Drysdale as my financial advisor, you know, just, or Mr. Krabs, you know, live like you're making 45, 50,000 a year when you're in the NFL. Don't be out clubbing and doing all, you know, I don't hear about you doing that kind of stuff, or Bo Jackson. I mean, Bo, I'm going there and, you know, make some arrows and, you know, and go bow hunting. I mean, that there's so many people. There's some guys that play professional sports who go crazy with the money, but there's a lot more of them, I think, like John, wouldn't you say, like Ben Troupe and Ben and Takeo Spikes, and, you know, talking to Roman Harper. Roman won't do an interview without saying something about his hometown of Prattville, Alabama, and thanking the people who helped him get there. And I told him that at media days. I said, man, every interview I see you do, it doesn't matter where it is, you always go, hey, let me say something about where I'm from. And he thanks everybody. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, John, you're right as an AD. And Ben, you know this, most of your discussions with the student athletes are really not probably about sports, guys. They're probably about life, aren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, even taking a step further, I mean, I had a coach tell me there is no such thing as self-made, only man-made. And that is true. You're not, there is no such, people just, I'm self-made. No, because he said, because it took two people to make you, right? So you got to discount them.
Yeah.
And then when you start talking about the fact that, you know, as a former student athlete, you have to step away to really appreciate this thing, to really see it for what it really, because when you're doing it, your mind is just on what you got to do. And it doesn't leave there. But when you walk away, when fans come up to you, the least you can do is show them the same appreciation they showed you back then. Just say hello, because, you know, Ron Zook was really, really good at these Ron Zookisms, man. He said, you up on somebody's wall. Like somebody got you up on their wall to say, that's my favorite. It is not your job to be a jerk when they meet you. I don't care what type of day you have it. And he said, because some of y'all think it's about how you feel. It's not about how you feel, man. John don't feel it every day. And I'm in charge of 375 student athletes. That's not counting the coaches and their parents and administrators. So I got to lead the meetings. I got to come in and say, sweet, I got to call you back, walk in this meeting and say, all right, let's do it again. Because the one who has that enthusiasm every single day to do it, they end up in it. Because like you said, ain't but one team gonna win it. Like with all these, can't but one team win it. That's the unfair part. Like we can have the best team we ever had come up a game short, come up and play short, but the people you meet in college are going to be the ones that are going to be the godfathers to your children. They're going to be the best man in your way. These are going to be the same people. But when I'm going into the Florida Georgia Hall of Fame, and I'm sitting next to Jeremy Foley, the old retired AD in Florida, and he just in my ear the whole time telling me what I meant to him, to Florida. He said, Ben, I don't get a chance to tell all y'all this. Y'all be thinking that, you here to help us win a championship. No, man. He said that's a byproduct of it. Like, yeah, we win, right? But he said, we want y'all to go on to be great men, great women, great husbands, great wives, great sons and daughters and fathers. And that's the part that he says, with everything you hear me say, I don't get to that. It's on the agenda, but I got a lot of speeches to do that day. And by the time I get, because, man, Ron, I don't know if John does this, but after every game my senior year, every game, Jeremy Fowler will come to the locker room and shake our hands. And, I mean, and he's the AD. I mean, I'm crying after the games. I hope he don't think I'm crying because he's in there. Because I hope this dude don't think he's making me cry. But it's at the end of the day to where Shannon Sharp said it the best, man. He said, when it comes to football, the only way you're going to play is if that coach trusts you and your teammates respect you. And the only thing you can give those fans is what they gave you, appreciation. That's it. You hope they appreciate you when you appreciate them. And when you leave it, the simple norms like that, as I go through life, my kids weren't born when I played. They get a kick out of it. But I tell my daughters and my son, you never gonna hear daddy say, not today. I'm not in the mood. Because somebody in this big old world, I got noticed. I'm not at home. I'm not from Savannah. I'm from a little small. Of course, they're gonna know me in Swainsboro. It ain't but 30 people there, so we gonna know each other. But I appreciate those people in real time. I got a nonprofit called The Uncommon Crew, and I'm gonna look to bring every last one of them down there October 20th. They're gonna be up in them stands. Not listen, not so they could be seen, so they can see. They got to see this is what opportunity. I tell them all the time. I said, I want what money can't buy. That's what I want. Because if I got the money to get it, but when somebody said, how did you get on the sideline, John? You got to know Brown and you don't know him. So don't call him. He said, how you, because to me, that's the stuff that never happens. With all the ADs we know, I don't know. I say, hey, Bo, how you doing, Bo Jackson? How you doing, Ronnie Brown? How you doing? Johnny Manziel. I bet your AD ain't invited you to the sideline. Bet that ain't happening.
No, look, unfortunately, we've run out of time, man. Mildred's in here saying, timeout. But John Hartwell, catch him at ULM AD. Ben Troupe, ESPN Coastal in Savannah, to Gary Harris, Dudley Dawson, all of our listeners, sponsors, everybody, thank you so much. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We are the product of our, like Ben said, two people. Don't ever forget to thank people who help you along the way. And John, tell them again how they can follow you, and we'll let you go.
Yeah, ULMWarhawks.com. See all that's happening in ULM athletics. John_Hartwell at Twitter. And guys, I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be with not only very knowledgeable college sports folks, but even better people. And I just appreciate the opportunity. And everybody have a great day. And hey, Rob, I don't know where the War Eagles are that day, but shoot, you may have to end up in Statesboro on October 21st.
We love road tripping. That would be fun to be on the sidelines. I mean, we will do it. We're going to do something with you. That's what we're planning all the time. But I love the synergy. Thanks, everybody. Got a great lineup again tomorrow. Have a great day, folks. We are out of here.
You're just so unprepared. I don't even know where the thing is.
You hit end broadcast, don't you?
No, you don't.
What do? You
hit the music.
Okay.
You've already
fucked
all that up. Just end it. I mean, you